Hi guys, welcome to my channel Prasad Joshi Astro Universe. Today we are going to discuss one of the most dreaded topics in Vedic astrology, and it also happens to be one of the most misunderstood topics when it comes to interpretation amongst general masses. We are talking about placement of Mars in an horoscope that leads to problems in the married life of an individual. Now, when you look at the chart as per Vedic astrology, whenever Mars is sitting in the first house of a horoscope, fourth house, seventh house, eighth house, and 12th house, it is considered as a Manglik Yoga or a combination which leads to disruptions in the married life of an individual. Now, the reason why this is most confusing is because Mars transits through a certain house in approximately 45 days. Now, if we go by that logic, then Mars transitioning through these five signs would mean that once Mars completes one round of the entire zodiac, it will have spent 225 days in all these signs combined together. So does it mean that all the people who are born in these 225 days will see a disruption in their married life, or will they have a bad married life? Now, that's the biggest misconception that is carried out in astrology, and it is also something which is taken by the masses at its face value. What we need to do is we need to first understand why Mars is considered bad in these signs. See, in Vedic astrology, Mars is considered as a significator of action. It also makes a person very aggressive in the areas of life where it is posited in a certain house. So if Mars is present in the first house, the way it is in this chart, it will make person very aggressive in thoughts and in actions. So on one hand, it will give an individual the ability to take quick actions, but on the other hand, it will also aspect the married life of an individual, which happens to be the seventh house. Now, by the same logic, Mars sitting in the fourth house will be aspecting the seventh house by the fourth aspect. Mars sitting in seventh obviously sits in the house of marriage straight away. The one in eighth house aspects the second house of family by the seventh aspect, and Mars in 12th house will be aspecting the seventh house of marriage through the eighth aspect, and that is why Mars in these houses is not considered good for marriage. But we cannot consider only this one condition as something that will distort a married life of an individual. What we need to do is we need to dig deep and figure out what leads to the disruption. Mars on its own will not spoil the married life of an individual. We have to consider other conditions as well. For example, Venus is the significator of a married life in an individual. So position of Venus is considered very, very important, and that comes along with looking at the position of Mars. So in here, Mars is sitting in the first house, and though it is not in a very good sign, it is debilitated in the sign of Cancer. But position of Venus is not that bad, because Venus, if it is getting associated with 6th, 8th, or 12th house in any aspect, would mean that the marital life of that individual may see troubled waters. In this case, there is no risk of Venus getting associated with either of these three houses, and hence we can say that despite Mars being present in the first house, the married life of a person will not be disturbed. The third condition that we need to look at is the position of the seventh lord in a horoscope. In this case, seventh lord Saturn is sitting in the fourth house, and that too is in an exalted state. So again, this provides a lot of boost to the seventh house of the native. Another condition that we need to see is seventh house lord is present in sixth, eighth, or in 12th house. Then again, another box is checked, that is, the person's married life may get into trouble. Another condition that we need to look at is the position of Rahu. Now, Rahu, if it gets associated with 7th house lord by either being its star lord or being in conjunction with the 7th house lord, will lead to the spoiling of the marriage for the individual. In this case, again, there is no association of the 7th house lord with Rahu. So we can again say that that condition is not being met here. Another condition which also needs to be looked into is the impact of one or more malefic lords onto the 7th house. So say for example, if Mars is sitting in the 7th house and is being aspected by some other malefic planets like a Saturn or Rahu or Sun, then it would mean that the married life of the individual is going to get hampered. So we can say that only when two or more malefic planets get associated with the 7th house, either by its placement or by getting associated with it through the aspects, but two or more malefic planets needs to be associated. So these are all the factors that we need to consider before saying that the marital life of a person will get disrupted. So just to summarize, if Mars is located in any of these houses 1, 4, 7, 8, 12 and is present in its own house or in an exalted state, then one need not worry. But if Mars is present in 7th and 8th house in an enemy sign or is in a weak and debilitated state, then the first condition of a person's married life being disrupted is met. The second condition obviously is the involvement of Venus with 6th, 8th or 12th houses. The third position is involvement of Rahu with the 7th house lord, either through placement or through conjunction or through mutual aspect. Fourth condition is the position of the 7th lord in a horoscope. If 7th lord also gets associated with the houses 6, 8, 12, then another box gets checked. And the final part also is the condition of two or more malefic planets getting involved in the 7th house, either by placement or through aspect. So simply stating that Mars occupies one of these five houses leads to a disruption in the married life of an individual is not correct. One has to look at all the conditions together in order to figure that out. In my experience, if Mars is present in 7th and 8th house in a weakened state, then that is something that one needs to worry about. Otherwise, just stating one condition and calling it as a disruption in married life of an individual is not correct. So these are the conditions that one has to evaluate before arriving at a decision when it comes to Mars and its impact on the house of marriage. Hope this video was useful to you. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much for watching.